Chapter 23:32. Shun Huang. Lu Ming looked over and asked, "Where's your mother now?" "She's in the Grand Pure Heaven domain, not far from here." Lu Shenhuang said, "All right, let's leave this place first. Take me to your mother," Lu Ming said. Then, they left Blue Moon City. Hundreds of thousands of miles away, Lu Ming, Long Chen, Tu Yi, Jin Yi, Heavenly Emperor Hung Yu, and the others bade farewell and headed in a certain direction with Lu Shenhuang. Along the way, the father and son chatted a lot. Lu Ming also learned that Xian Yinqing had come to the Taiqing heavenly domain more than 10 years ago. All these years, he had been cultivating in the Taiqing heavenly domain and imparted cultivation to Lu Shenhuang. Lu Ming was secretly amazed. In just 10 years, Xian Yinqing was able to raise Lu Shenhuang's cultivation to the 3-star illusionary emperor realm, and his battle strength was even more shocking. Lu Shenhuang's talent was undoubtedly shocking, but it had a lot to do with Xian Yinqing's teaching method. "Shenhuang, has there been anything unusual with your mother over the years?" Lu Ming asked. "Yes." Lu Shenhuang nodded with a solemn expression and said, "Mother, there seems to be 2 people in my body. Sometimes they love me, sometimes they are as cold as ice, but they have one thing in common, which is that they teach me cultivation seriously." "Is that so?" Lu Ming murmured with a heavy heart. He remembered that Xian Yinqing was also like this in the land of infinite demons. The day before, they were fine, but later, they wanted to kill him, as if they were different people. Lu Ming still did not know what was going on. It was exactly the same as what Lu Shenhuang said. The two chatted as they hurried along. It was the first time the father and son met. They were a little distant at first, but as they chatted, they felt that their relationship had become much closer. They were very fast. A few days later, they arrived in a mountain range. There was a lake at the top of the highest mountain. The lake was like a mirror that adorned the peak of the mountain, making this place look like a paradise. There was a figure standing on the shore of the lake. Her black dress fluttered in the wind, revealing a pair of jade-like beautiful legs that were slender and straight. Her long black hair reached her waist and fluttered in the wind, making her look like a goddess who had descended to the mortal world. Shaoqing. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat as joy filled his heart. That figure was definitely Xian Yinqing. Lu Ming would never mistake it. Even if it was just a back view, Lu Ming would never forget it. It had been more than 10 years. It had been more than 10 years since they parted in the land of all demons. "Mother!" Lu Shenhuang shouted and flew towards Xian Yinqing. "Divine wilderness, you're back? What did you gain from this trip? What kind of prodigy did he encounter?" Xian Yinqing spoke. Her clear and melodious voice rang out, and then she turned around. She looked exactly the same as before. After more than 10 years, Xian Yinqing's face had not changed at all. She was still as beautiful as ever. Lu Ming looked at Xian Yinqing in a daze. When Xian Yinqing turned around, she also saw Lu Ming. Her words came to an abrupt halt as she looked at Lu Ming in a daze. "Lu Ming," Xian Yinqing whispered as if she could not believe that she would meet Lu Ming here. Moreover, Lu Ming came with Lu Shenhuang. This was beyond her expectations. "Mother, look who I brought." Lu Shenhuang flew over. "Lu Ming," Xian Yinqing whispered, tears welling up in her eyes. She missed him dearly. Then, she stepped into the air and flew toward Lu Ming. Lu Ming also flew over. However, when Xian Yinqing was halfway there, her delicate body trembled. At this moment, her eyes changed and became as cold as a knife. When she looked at Lu Ming, her eyes were filled with killing intent. "Despicable ant, die!" A cold voice came out of Xian Yinqing's mouth. A jet-black sword light slashed towards Lu Ming. Not good. Lu Ming's face changed drastically. Xian Yinqing's move was a fatal threat to him. He felt that if he was hit by this move, he would definitely die. Retreat. Lu Ming retreated. At this moment, Lu Ming unleashed all his strength and retreated like a bolt of lightning. However, the black sword gleam was like an awl attached to a bone. It followed closely behind Lu Ming and was even faster than him. Block. A spear condensed in Lu Ming's hand. This long spear was formed by intertwining 9 types of laws. It was Lu Ming's most powerful ability, Infinite Dragon Spear. At the same time, The power of Lu Ming's physical body and the power of the world erupted. Whoosh, whoosh. The spear vibrated as Lu Ming thrust out several hundred times. Several hundred spear lights pierced towards the jet-black sword light. This could be considered Lu Ming's strongest attack at the moment. No true emperor could stop this move. Boom, boom, boom. Hundreds of spear auras continuously bombarded the jet-black sword aura, causing continuous explosions. However, the jet-black sword light was incomparably sharp. Lu Ming's spear lights were shattered inch by inch and swept away. Whoosh! Even though Lu Ming tried his best to resist and retreat at the same time, a ray of light still swept past Lu Ming. Although Lu Ming had activated the indestructible golden body and the defensive power of his physical body, he could not withstand the attack. His body was almost slashed into two. There was a deep wound, and even his bones were broken. Lu Ming spat out a mouthful of blood. His eyes were filled with shock. Great Emperor. He could clearly sense that Xian Yinqing's cultivation had reached the Great Emperor realm. This speed was too fast. One had to know that Lu Ming's cultivation speed was astonishing. It could be said that he was advancing at a tremendous pace. However, Xian Yinqing's speed was even faster than his. He had entered the Great Emperor realm. Coupled with his terrifying strength, Lu Ming was no match for him. The difference was too great. Die. When Xian Yinqing saw that she did not manage to kill Lu Ming with one blow, she revealed a trace of surprise. With a shout, she charged towards Lu Ming again. Mother, don't. At this moment, Lu Shenhuang shouted and rushed over in a panic. Hearing Lu Shenhuang's voice, Xian Yinqing's body trembled. She stopped chasing and her eyes were filled with struggle. Mother, don't kill father. Don't. Lu Shenhuang shouted and rushed over, blocking in front of Xian Yinqing. Taking advantage of this opportunity, Lu Ming circulated the indestructible ancient scripture to heal his injuries. His wounds healed at an astonishing speed. Little Qing, wake up, it's me. Lu Ming shouted. Mother, it's father. Lu Shenhuang also shouted. The struggle in Xian Yinqing's eyes became more and more intense. In the end, she shouted, Lu Ming, leave now. With that, Xian Yinqing turned and left. He turned into a ray of light and disappeared. Little Qing. Lu Ming shouted and chased after her. However, Xian Yinqing was too fast. At this moment, Xian Yinqing's figure was nowhere to be seen. Damn it! What's going on? Lu Ming roared. He couldn't figure it out. Xian Yinqing's situation didn't seem like she had been possessed. When they first met, she was indeed Xian Yinqing, just like before. But immediately, she seemed to have changed into another person. Chapter 23:33. The father and son stood there and looked at each other, not knowing what to do. Lu Ming. At this moment, a voice sounded. Lu Ming turned around and saw a graceful figure in a long white dress. She looked almost the same as Xian Yinqing. She was unparalleled in her beauty. Xian Yinjuan? Lu Ming was tongue-tied. He never thought that Xian Yinjuan would be nearby. Back at Yuan Mountain, Lu Ming went to the ancient sacred tribe to find Xian Yinjuan. His purpose was to inquire about Xian Yinqing, but the people of the ancient sacred tribe told him that Xian Yinjuan had left and no one knew where he went. It turned out that Xian Yinjuan had also come to the heaven world. Aunt. Lu Shenhuang smiled and flew over. Obviously, Lu Shenhuang and Xian Yinjuan had known each other for a long time. Xian Yinjuan stepped in the air and arrived in front of Lu Ming. He curiously looked at Lu Ming. Lu Ming, long time no see. Your cultivation has improved a lot. Xian Yinjuan smiled. Not as good as you, Lu Ming said. He looked at Xian Yinjuan and the surprise in his eyes became stronger. Unfathomable. In his eyes, Xian Yinjuan was unfathomable. He had no idea what Xian Yinjuan's current cultivation level was. However, it was definitely not a true emperor. It was definitely above a true emperor. The Great Emperor realm. It was very likely that Xian Yinjuan's cultivation was also in the Great Emperor realm. At the thought of this, Lu Ming was dumbfounded. What was going on? How could Xian Yinqing and Xian Yinjuan's cultivation speed be so fast? One had to know that Lu Ming had experienced countless dangers to reach his current cultivation level. The other geniuses from Heaven World were even weaker. For example, Xianyuan Yi only had the strength of a 15th level true emperor. However, he was the strongest outside of Lu Ming. However, Xian Yinqing and Xian Yinjuan were around the same age as Lu Ming and the others, but they had already broken through to the great emperor realm. If news of this were to spread, it would probably scare people to death. Lu Ming, do you really want to know why Xian Yinqing is like this now? Xian Yinjuan said with a smile. You know? Lu Ming's eyes lit up. Of course I know. Let's go to the side and talk. Little guy, don't follow me. Xian Yinjuan said one last sentence to Lu Shenhuang and then stepped towards the center of the lake. Lu Ming followed. The two came to the center of the lake and stood on the surface. Lu Ming looked at Xian Yinjuan and waited for her answer. Do you know about past and present life? Xian Yinjuan asked. Past and present life? Lu Ming was stunned. Xian Yinjuan did not answer and only looked at Lu Ming with a smile. You mean reincarnation, past and present life? Lu Ming asked. That's right. Reincarnation, past and present life. Xian Yinjuan nodded. How is that possible? As far as I know, although there is the law of reincarnation in this world, no one can reincarnate. Once they fall, their body will die and their Tao will disappear. Everything will become nothing. Lu Ming said. At Lu Ming's current cultivation, he understood more. No one in this world could reincarnate. At most, one could seize another's body. Even a peak heavenly emperor invincible powerhouse could not reincarnate. Moreover, Lu Ming had also asked reincarnation heavenly emperor back then. Reincarnation heavenly emperor also gave a similar answer. No reincarnation, that's because those people are too weak. As long as the cultivation realm is there, everything is possible, Xian Yinjuan said, revealing a trace of faint disdain. Lu Ming was tongue-tied, not knowing how to answer for a moment. Too weak. A peak heavenly emperor invincible powerhouse was too weak in Xian Yinjuan's words? A peak heavenly emperor was already an invincible powerhouse in this world. According to Lu Ming's current knowledge, it seemed that only the ancestral dragon was above the heavenly emperor. Could it be that above the heavenly emperor, there was reincarnation? You're saying that little Qing is the reincarnation of a powerhouse, and now the memories of her past life have awakened? With Lu Ming's wisdom, he immediately thought of a lot. That's right, Xian Yinqing is indeed the reincarnation of a powerhouse. Moreover, the memories of her past life have already awakened. This is also why when you see Xian Yinqing, it's like there are two people in her body. Originally, the awakening of the memories of the past life has to be fused with the memories of this life. In the end, with the memories of the past life as the main force, she will once again embark on the supreme path and even surpass the past life. There is also a great possibility. However, Xian Yinqing is unwilling to fuse the past life with this life. Because once fused, the memories of the past life will be the main force. At that time, I'm afraid that Xian Yinqing will not be the current Xian Yinqing. Therefore, the current situation will occur. Xian Yinjuan explained. So that's how it is. After listening to Xian Yinjuan's explanation, Lu Ming suddenly understood. There was actually reincarnation in the world, and Xian Yinqing had awakened the memories of her past life, but she was unwilling to fuse the memories of her past life with this life. Xian Yinqing was definitely unwilling to fuse because she couldn't let go. Therefore, it was like there were two people in Xian Yinqing's body. One moment, she was controlled by the memories of her past life, and the other moment, she was controlled by the memories of this life. Xian Yinqing's past life must have been an incomparably powerful powerhouse, but her body was taken by Lu Ming, and her chastity was taken away. She felt humiliated, so when she saw Lu Ming, she wanted to kill Lu Ming. Various thoughts flashed through Lu Ming's mind. Also, back in the Devil Sea in the land of infinite devils, those black-robed men had seized the ancient demon coffin and placed Xian Yinqing inside. It was very likely that they had helped Xian Yinqing awaken the memories of her past life. Lu Ming had figured everything out. Whoosh! Lu Ming took a deep breath, looked at Xian Yinjuan, and said, "You are also the reincarnation of a powerhouse, right?" "That's right. And in my previous life, Xian Yinqing and I were also sisters." Xian Yinjuan smiled. Lu Ming was slightly surprised. In his previous life, Xian Yinjuan and Xian Yinqing were actually sisters, and they had both reincarnated. After reincarnating, they were also sisters. No wonder the two of them looked so similar. And it was obvious that Xian Yinjuan's memories of her past life had already fused. However, in the history of the Heaven Realm, were there such two powerhouses? What realm were you in your previous life? Could it be the realm above the Celestial Emperor? Lu Ming was extremely puzzled, and more questions emerged in his heart. Above the Celestial Emperor? Haha, forget it, let's not talk about this. Even if I tell you, you won't understand. I'll teach you how to help Xian Yinqing. Xian Yinjuan said, You have a way? Lu Ming's eyes lit up. Of course, you just need to help her and let her memories of her past life fuse. Xian Yinjuan said, No, according to what you said, the past life will be the dominant one in the fusion of the memories of the past life. At that time, Shaoqing will not be Shaoqing. No, Lu Ming shook his head. This was hard for him to accept. Who said that the previous life must be the dominant one after the fusion? Xian Yinjuan curled her lips and said, Now, Xian Yinqing's two memories are fighting for control. As long as one of them has the upper hand and devours the other's memory with an absolute advantage, then the winner will naturally be the dominant one. For example, Xian Yinqing's memory of this life has the upper hand and devours the memory of her past life. That means that she only has an extra memory, and it has no effect on her personality. Xian Yinqing is still Xian Yinqing, understand? Chapter 23:34. Lu Ming nodded. He could understand this point. Just like when he merged with some of the 9 dragons' memory fragments, it did not affect him. He only gained some extra memories, but he was still him. He would not become another person. It was the same for Xian Yinqing. As long as Xian Yinqing's memories of this life took the upper hand and devoured the memories of her previous life, then it would be equivalent to her gaining a few more memories. Not only would she be fine, but she would also obtain a great opportunity. What should I do to make Xian Yinqing's memories of this life devour her memories of her previous life? Lu Ming asked. It's very simple. Xian Yinjuan smiled slyly and said, Actually, you have a great advantage now. You have a son, Xian Yinqing's, and your son. With a son by your side, Xian Yinqing's memories of this life will be greatly affected. It will make her more obsessed and unwilling to let go. It is also because of this that her memories of this life are not merged with the memories of her previous life. In the future, as long as you can stay by Xian Yinqing's side and accompany her more, her obsession will naturally become stronger. You can even sleep with her more often. Her memories of this life will naturally take over and devour her memories of her previous life. Lu Ming was a little confused. Sleep with her more often? It was that simple? How is it? Do you feel very happy? The method I taught you is not bad, right? Xian Yinjuan smiled. Lu Ming smiled bitterly. Her memories of her previous life make her hate me to death. I'm afraid she will kill me before I can even get close to her, let alone sleep with her. Lu Ming touched his nose and said, Therefore, your cultivation is too weak. In the future, cultivate well. As long as your cultivation surpasses Xian Yinqing, you will be able to suppress her and subdue her. Then, you will be able to do whatever you want. Xian Yinjuan smiled slyly. Lu Ming was completely speechless. He felt immense pressure. The main reason was that Xian Yinqing's cultivation speed was too fast. She was the reincarnation of an unknown powerful expert. Even if her memories of her previous life and this life were not merged, her cultivation speed was still astonishing. Now, she was already in the Great Emperor realm. It was too difficult for Lu Ming to catch up or even surpass Xian Yinqing. Other than this method, is there no other way? Lu Ming did not give up and asked. There is no other way. Xian Yinjuan shook his head. So, little Qing won't recover in a short time? Lu Ming asked again. Yes. Xian Yinjuan nodded. Lu Ming sighed helplessly. At the end of the day, his cultivation level was too weak. Why are you helping me? After a while, Lu Ming asked curiously. It's very simple. Once Xian Yinqing's memories of this life and her previous life's memories are devoured, her cultivation speed will definitely drop. In the future, she will no longer be my opponent. Hee hee. As she spoke, Xian Yinjuan giggled. Lu Ming was speechless. So this was the reason. By letting the memories of her previous life take over, Xian Yinqing would become a terrifying expert. Her cultivation speed would naturally be astonishing. However, if the memories of this life devoured the memories of her previous life, she would only gain a few more memories. Although it was a supreme opportunity, there would still be a huge gap. In the end, Lu Ming stayed here and accompanied Lu Shenhuang for a while, giving him some cultivation resources. Lu Shenhuang did not cultivate the law system, but Xian Yinqing's system. Lu Ming had never seen it before, but it was extremely exquisite and powerful. Lu Ming stayed for another month, but during this month, Xian Yinqing did not appear. Lu Ming was helpless. After a month, Lu Ming left. Lu Shenhuang did not leave with Lu Ming. He continued to stay by Xian Yinqing's side. Cultivate. I must speed up my cultivation speed and help little Qing's memories of this life devour the memories of her previous life. On the way back, Lu Ming swore to himself. Originally, he thought that his cultivation speed was already very fast. Previously, he had defeated Xinyuan Yi and suppressed all the elites to obtain first place. This made him feel like he was standing at the peak. But now, he had a lot of pressure. Because of Xian Yinqing's cultivation speed was faster than his. To catch up or even surpass Xian Yinqing was easier said than done. This forced Lu Ming to constantly move forward. Not long after, Lu Ming contacted Tu Yi and the others. Lu Ming brought Tu Yi and the rest, as well as the body cultivators, back to Tu World City. With the addition of these experts, Tu World City's strength increased greatly. The news of the battle in Blue Moon City had already spread throughout the Grand Pure Sky domain. Lu Ming's reputation had reached its peak. After defeating Xinyuan Yi, Lu Ming stood at the peak of the younger generation without a doubt. And behind Lu Ming stood a shocking number of heavenly emperors. Without a doubt, Lu Ming already had a great influence in the heaven domain, even greater than some heavenly emperors. After Lu Ming returned to Tu World City, he devoted himself to cultivation. As for Longchen, Huangling, Bubbles, and the others, they also came to Tu World City to cultivate. Sometimes, they would go to the battlefield outside Tu World City to train themselves. In addition, Heng Xinghe, Yuan Xian, Tianming, and the other geniuses of the heaven domain, including Juju, were all cultivating with all their might. The battle in Blue Moon City showed them Lu Ming's battle strength. Lu Ming brought them unimaginable pressure, making them understand their own shortcomings, forcing all the geniuses to cultivate with all their might. In this great era where geniuses were as common as clouds, if one stagnated or did not improve fast enough, they would be surpassed and crushed by others. Time flew by, and in the blink of an eye, 5 years had passed. 5 years was just a blink of an eye for some heavenly emperors. However, 5 years was of great significance to geniuses like Lu Ming and the rest. In these 5 years, Lu Ming had made great progress in all aspects. First, Lu Ming had cultivated the 7 gods' mysterious art to the late 4th level. This allowed Lu Ming's physical strength to skyrocket. Now, Lu Ming could defeat and even kill an 18th level true emperor with just his physical strength. This was purely the power of his physical body. However, the drop of ancestral dragon blood in his heart was almost used up, leaving only a little bit. Moreover, Lu Ming's remaining laws had all reached the 3rd level. Lu Ming's 9 laws had all reached the 3rd level. In the last few years, Lu Ming had refined the 100 chaos stones he got from the Lan clan. Lu Ming's cultivation had reached peak 6-star true emperor, not far from reaching 7-star true emperor. This was an all-around improvement. Lu Ming didn't know how strong he was now. In any case, he could kill an 18th level true emperor with a flick of his finger. I wonder how strong I am compared to a grand emperor right now? Lu Ming pondered. A grand emperor was much stronger than a true emperor. A great emperor had cultivated all 9 types of laws to the 3rd level, and then used the 9 types of laws to evolve into a great Tao. Chapter 23:35. Thus, Lu Ming was curious to see if he could fight against a grand emperor. Let's give it a try. Lu Ming ended his cultivation and flew in the direction of the Tu World City. Soon, Lu Ming arrived at a spacious area. It was a drill ground of Tu World City. Usually, The army and experts of Two World City would train here. From afar, Lu Ming saw a few huge light shields. They were like a few big bowls that were placed upside down on the ground. Around the light barrier, there were many different living beings. There were humans and divine beasts. Lu Ming looked over and saw more than 10 true dragons circling around the body, suspended in the air and looking seriously at one of the light shields. There were also 9 phoenixes and more than 10 cheilants. Divine beasts that were rarely seen in other places could be seen everywhere. It wasn't just a rumor that half of the Grand Pure Celestial Realms experts were gathered in Two World City. Boom, boom. Intense rumbling sounds could be heard coming from several of the light shields. There were people fighting inside. Lu Ming flew over and came to one of the light shields. Inside, there was a human expert and a gigantic heavenly snake. They were fighting and killing each other. Both of them were true emperors at the 15th level. They were considered top experts among true emperors. The beings around the barriers were all true emperors. This is the place where true emperors compete. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. These light shields were like fighting rings. They were places for the experts of Two World City to fight against each other and train themselves. The barriers were formed by formations and were sturdy and indestructible. They could unleash their full power in battle. After all, it was too dangerous to train outside the city. The slightest carelessness could lead to death. Therefore, many people fought and killed each other here to train themselves. Of course, the effect wasn't as good as on the battlefield because they couldn't kill their opponents here. At most, they would be heavily injured. Lu Ming, it's Lu Ming. Many people recognized Lu Ming as soon as he arrived, causing a commotion. Many people's expressions changed. Could it be that Lu Ming was going to make a move? No true emperor was a match for Lu Ming. 5 years ago, Lu Ming was already able to kill a true emperor with ease. Now that 5 years had passed, Lu Ming must have become even more unfathomable. However, Lu Ming did not plan to make a move. He wasn't interested in the true emperor realm since it wouldn't do him any good. Lu Ming looked at it for a while before walking towards another light shield. The range of this light shield was more than 10 times larger than the previous one. Light flowed and flickered with a metallic luster. Inside, there were 2 figures clashing against each other. Terrifying rumbling sounds could be heard. Streams of energy shot out in all directions, but they were all blocked by the light barrier. The light barrier continued to vibrate, but it did not shatter. Great Emperor! Lu Ming's eyes lit up. The people fighting inside the light barrier were all Emperor Realm experts. There were also some people watching around the light barrier, but the number was much smaller. In the heaven world, there were many true emperors, no less than void emperors. As long as one broke through to void emperor, it wasn't particularly difficult to break through to true emperor. As long as 3 types of laws reached the second realm, one's cultivation would reach the peak of 7-star void emperor. As long as one's talent wasn't too bad, it wouldn't be difficult to break through after a long time. However, to break through to Great Emperor, it wasn't something that could be achieved through patience. The prerequisite for breaking through to Great Emperor was to have 9 types of laws at the 3rd realm. Moreover, at least one of them had to be a King Dao law. Those who weren't talented enough wouldn't be able to reach this step in their lifetime. Not to mention comprehending the Great Dao with 9 types of laws. There might not even be one Great Emperor among 100 true emperors. Great Emperors were considered top-notch experts in the heaven world. They would be respected wherever they went. Therefore, it was normal that there were few Great Emperors here. Lu Ming. Seeing Lu Ming coming over, the Great Emperor's eyes moved. Could it be that Lu Ming wanted to spar with a Great Emperor? The Great Emperors weren't the only ones who thought so. The true emperors also thought so. Lu Ming went to the battlefield of the Great Emperors. Could it be that he wants to spar with a Great Emperor? Someone exclaimed in the True Emperor's area. Impossible. The difference between true emperors and great emperors is too big. Even if Lu Ming could easily kill an 18th level true emperor, it would be difficult for him to fight against a great emperor. In history, there has never been a true emperor who could fight against a great emperor. Let's go and take a look. Many true emperors flew towards the battlefield of the great emperors. Even the battlefield of the void emperors further away was alarmed. Many void emperors also flew over to watch from afar. Lu Ming didn't say anything as he stared at the two people inside the light barrier. The two people inside the light barrier should be two-star Great Emperors. The battle was extremely intense. Boom, boom. The two of them controlled the power of the Grand Tao and continuously attacked each other. Not long after, the two of them were evenly matched. It was considered a draw, and they retreated from the light barrier. Lu Ming, what are you doing here? Are you looking for a great emperor to spar with? At this moment, a voice rang out, and a burly middle-aged man walked over. That's right. Lu Ming nodded. He didn't hide anything. He had come to find a great emperor to spar with to test his fighting power. Many people were shocked. Lu Ming actually wanted to spar with a great emperor. What great confidence! A true emperor fighting against a great emperor? I have never heard of such a thing. Aren't you too arrogant? The middle-aged man sneered with a hint of mockery. Lu Ming squinted his eyes slightly. This person mocked him as soon as he arrived. It seemed like he was unhappy with him. Which force is he from? Lu Ming pondered. What's your cultivation? Lu Ming asked. 1-star Great Emperor. The middle-aged man replied. All right, it's you then. I challenge you now. Come in and fight. Lu Ming was very direct and directly challenged the other party. Having said that, he stepped into the light barrier. The light barrier wouldn't have any reaction when one entered from the outside. However, if one was attacked from the inside, the light barrier would produce a strong defensive force. Seeing that Lu Ming dared to challenge him, the middle-aged man's eyes emitted a cold light. Everyone, Lu Ming is too arrogant and arrogant. He challenged me first. I didn't bully the young and the weak. The middle-aged man said excitedly. He originally wanted to find a reason to challenge Lu Ming. He didn't expect Lu Ming to challenge him first. This was exactly what he wanted. Although he was only a 1-star Great Emperor and had only comprehended an ordinary Grand Tao, he was confident that he could easily suppress Lu Ming. A Great Emperor was far from being comparable to a true emperor. Even the top prodigies with 1 supreme law and 8 monarch laws at the 3rd level only had the battle prowess of an 18th order true emperor. Even the weakest Great Emperor was much stronger than an 18th level true emperor. Chapter 23:36. Everyone present was shocked. They did not expect Lu Ming to really want to fight with a great emperor. Moreover, he took the initiative to issue a challenge. A true emperor against a grand emperor. This was enough to shock the world. Boom. The middle-aged burly man took a step forward and entered the light shield, standing opposite Lu Ming. Who do you think will win, Lu Ming or Lanjie? A few people whispered outside. I think Lanjie will win. Lu Ming is strong and could easily kill an 18th level true emperor 5 years ago. However, the difference between a true emperor and a grand emperor is too great. I've never heard of a true emperor being able to fight against a grand emperor. Even the strongest true emperor isn't a match for the weakest grand emperor. That's right, Lu Ming is definitely not a match for Lanjie. I think Lu Ming will be defeated within 20 moves. 20 moves? If Lu Ming hasn't improved in the past 5 years, I think he won't even last 10 moves. Many people were discussing, but no one thought that Lu Ming would be able to fight with a great emperor. This was because the gap between them was too great. Lanjie? Looks like you're from the Long clan, Lu Ming said indifferently with a cold glint in his eyes. No wonder Lanjie mocked him the moment he appeared. So he was from the Long clan. That's right, Lu Ming, you're too arrogant. Even though I can't kill you here, no one will say anything if I torture you. Lanjie said ferociously. Is that so? Let's see if you have the ability to do so. Lu Ming smiled faintly. Then let's see what the number 1 genius of Heaven World is capable of. Lanjie said coldly. With a loud bang, Lanjie's figure dashed toward Lu Ming at an astonishing speed. He threw a punch at Lu Ming, as if Mount Tai was pressing down on him. At this moment, Lu Ming narrowed his eyes and unleashed the power of his physique and world. Swoosh. Lu Ming struck out with his palm. This palm was surrounded by 6 different lights, containing 6 different laws. The laws of primal chaos, the laws of death, the laws of devour, the laws of tools, the laws of array, and the laws of alchemy. This was a type of divine ability. Lu Ming had obtained an advanced version of the Primal Chaos ancient scripture, which contained many divine abilities and laws. One of the palm techniques contained 9 types of laws. It was the evolved version of the chaotic divine palm. However, of the 9 laws, Lu Ming had only cultivated 4 of them. Over the years, Lu Ming had improved them, incorporating the laws of death and other laws into Lu Ming's unique divine ability, making it even more powerful. What Lu Ming was using now was exactly this kind of mystique. Boom! Lu Ming's palm collided with Lan Ye's fist, and there was an earth-shattering explosion. A terrifying force shot out in all directions from the collision of the 2 people's fists and palms. It bombarded the light shield but was blocked by the light shield. Bang! Bang! Both of their bodies trembled, and then they retreated a dozen or so steps, causing the ground to rumble and explode. What? Everyone's eyes widened in shock. In the first move, Lu Ming actually blocked the attack of the blue membrane. The 2 of them were evenly matched. How is this possible? Lan Yi hasn't used his full strength yet. It's only a probing attack. A Grand Emperor spoke. A Grand Emperor being forced back by a true Emperor was a great loss of face. Even the other Grand Emperors felt ashamed. Lan Yi was enraged inside the light barrier. He had been forced back by a true Emperor. This had never happened before. Lu Ming, you've successfully angered me. Die. Lan Ji roared. His body was like a cannonball, pouncing toward Lu Ming. Both his fists bombarded Lu Ming continuously. Before his fists reached Lu Ming, there was already a terrifying pressure that suppressed Lu Ming. This was the pressure of the Grand Tao. Great emperors could control the Great Tao and borrow the power of the Great Tao. The Grand Tao was a type of profundity that was even stronger than the laws. Lu Ming wasn't afraid at all and countered with a palm strike. This time, another law appeared in Lu Ming's hand. 7 laws. Bang! Bang! The 2 continued to clash and exchanged dozens of moves in the blink of an eye. It was still a stalemate. The power of the Grand Tao is truly frightening. During the battle, Lu Ming was secretly shocked. Lu Ming's current abilities contained 7 laws, but they were in imminent danger under the onslaught of the Grand Tao. It felt as if they would be torn apart at any moment. If it wasn't for Lu Ming's powerful physical body, he wouldn't have been able to contend against the opponent. The 2 fought with speed and continued to clash. Terrifying shockwaves slammed into the light barrier, causing it to tremble violently. Damn it! Lan Yi roared. After so many moves, he still couldn't take down Lu Ming. It made him feel humiliated. If he couldn't defeat Lu Ming today, he would definitely become a laughingstock among the Grand Emperors. On the contrary, he helped Lu Ming and made Lu Ming's reputation even higher. Roar! Suddenly, a shocking roar came from Lan Yi's body. Above his head, a huge lion appeared. It was a golden lion. Its fur was golden and dazzling. It was majestic and extraordinary. This wasn't a real lion, but a kind of divine ability. It was a divine ability condensed from the Grand Tao. This lion was covered in Lan Yi's body. Lan Yi was in the middle of the lion, as if he had transformed into a golden lion. Roar! The golden lion roared and pounced at Lu Ming. Finally using your ultimate move? Lu Ming's eyes narrowed. At this moment, 9 types of radiance spread out from Lu Ming's palm. 9 types of laws were all used. This divine ability was no weaker than the infinite dragon spear. It was most suitable for close combat. Whoosh! Lu Ming's figure also dashed out. He struck with his palm and the void directly shattered, revealing a pitch-black void space. His palm seemed to be able to pierce through space. Meanwhile, Lan Yi swung his lion claw at Lu Ming. Boom! The 2 collided again. This time, the explosion was even more intense. A terrifying force was generated, but the result was still a draw. Both of them were forced to retreat. Impossible! Lan Yi roared in disbelief. He had used all of his strength but still couldn't take down Lu Ming. This shocked him. He roared angrily and charged toward Lu Ming. The 2 of them were engaged in an intense fight. As for the spectators outside the light shield, they were all stunned. They were also extremely shocked. Oh heavens, Lu Ming can actually fight Lan Yi. He's not at a disadvantage at all. This is too scary. He's only a true emperor. How can he be this strong? What's going on? They're all true emperors, but they can't even withstand a single blow from him. Many people found it hard to believe. It was a fact that true emperors were no match for grand emperors. But now, this truth was broken. Lu Ming's true emperor cultivation wasn't any weaker than a grand emperor. This was indeed a freak who used multiple laws to become an emperor. He couldn't be measured by common sense. Chapter 23:37. In the blink of an eye, the two had exchanged dozens of blows, but it was still a stalemate. Great emperors are indeed extraordinary. This Lan Jie should only have comprehended an ordinary great Tao, but his power is so strong. I wonder how powerful the strongest great Tao is. Lu Ming's mind was filled with various thoughts. Great Tao was divided into two types. In the true emperor realm, those who did not comprehend the strongest law and only used the monarch law and ordinary law to form a great Tao were called ordinary great Tao. As for those who had comprehended an ultimate law, they would use one ultimate law to create a great Tao that was derived from the laws of the monarch Tao. Within the same level, the strongest great Tao was much stronger than the ordinary great Tao. Lan Jie had only comprehended an ordinary great Tao and was a one-star great emperor. He was considered weak among great emperors. If a one-star great emperor who comprehended the strongest great Tao came, Lu Ming would not be able to defeat him. Then let's change the way of fighting. Lu Ming's eyes flashed and his attack suddenly changed. He attacked with all his might and did not care about defense. This was a desperate fighting style. Lu Ming's attack suddenly increased, suppressing the blue membrane in an instant. Damn it, you don't care about defense. Do you think I'm afraid of you? Die. Lan Jie roared and gave up on defense to attack with all his might. Most people would reserve some strength for defense when fighting with others. Now that he attacked with all his might, both of them were hit. Bam! Bam! Lan Jie's fist landed on Lu Ming's shoulder. Lu Ming's palm also landed on Lan Jie's shoulder. Both of their bodies trembled and retreated frantically. The difference was that there was a dent in Lu Ming's shoulder. However, there was no blood flowing out and the wound was recovering quickly. Lan Jie was in a much worse state. His shoulder seemed to have been slashed by a saber and almost chopped off his arm. A deep wound appeared and blood flowed out. Even his bones were broken. Lan Jie's face was pale. Although the recovery ability of a great emperor was amazing, it could not be compared to Lu Ming's. Die! Lu Ming didn't give the blue membrane any time to recover and launched another attack. His blue membrane was injured, and one of his arms was almost unable to move. His battle prowess was greatly reduced, and for a time, he was completely at a disadvantage. He was no match for Lu Ming. Bang! Bang! After that, Lan Jin was hit continuously by Lu Ming's attacks until he spat out large mouthfuls of blood. Although he had also hit Lu Ming was not seriously injured and his combat strength was not affected. Indestructible ancient scripture. Lan Ji roared out, extremely unwilling. He knew that Lu Ming was using the indestructible ancient scripture, so he was not afraid of being injured. Bang! This distraction gave Lu Ming another opportunity to land a palm strike on Lan Ye's face. Lan Ye let out a blood-curdling scream as his body was sent flying. Blood mixed with his teeth as he flew far away and crashed into the light barrier. Lan Jin's brain was buzzing. He was completely stunned. Of course, Lu Ming wouldn't let go of this opportunity. He rushed forward and unleashed a barrage of punches and kicks on Lan Jin's face and body. Lan Jin was like a punching bag that took dozens of blows from Lu Ming in the blink of an eye. After a few dozen moves, Lan Jin was sent flying and fell to the ground. He was covered in blood as he lay there twitching non-stop. Hiss, gasps could be heard. Void, True, and Grand Emperors outside the light barrier all had their mouths agape. Their hearts were in turmoil. A Grand Emperor was defeated by a young True Emperor. Moreover, he had been defeated so miserably. He had been abused so badly that he did not even look human anymore. Even his mother could not recognize him. What a tragedy. Needless to say, Lan Jin would become a laughingstock while Lu Ming's reputation would be pushed to the peak. A true emperor defeating a grand emperor was breaking the truth and creating a miracle. Haha, not bad. I enjoyed myself today. Lu Ming laughed. He had basically figured out his own combat strength. He was probably on par with the weakest Grand Emperor. Of course, he could use the indestructible ancient scripture and go all out to suppress Lan Jing. He should be able to compete with a one-star Great Emperor who had comprehended the strongest Grand Tao. His main goal in this battle was to test his strength. Now that the results were out, Lu Ming planned to leave. Initially, Lan Jia was a little more clear-headed. After hearing Lu Ming's words, he was so angry that he spat out a mouthful of blood. He roared and fainted. He fainted. Lu Ming curled his lips and stepped out of the light barrier. When the others saw Lu Ming coming out, they automatically made way for him. This was a kind of invisible power. Lu Ming was so young, but his combat strength had already reached the Great Emperor realm. In a few more years, he would definitely become an invincible overlord in the future. Lu Ming left the place and returned to his residence. With a thought, his soul materialized in the small world. He appeared on top of a mountain peak and looked into the distance. The current lesser world had a radius of 600,000 miles. It was vast and boundless. Moreover, Lu Ming had planted many spiritual herbs and sacred herbs in the lesser world. He had also scattered the seeds of various plants. Now, there were many places in the lesser world that were covered in lush green grass and all kinds of flowers. There were also some small trees in some places. The lesser world was still young, and there were no big trees yet. Similarly, there were no animals or demonic beasts. However, the lesser world was becoming more and more similar to the outside world. Lu Ming planned to let some animals and demonic beasts into the lesser world in the future. That way, it would be no different from the outside world. Of course, Lu Ming's cultivation had improved rapidly, but there were still large areas that were dead and lifeless. This required time for the plants in the lesser world to slowly reproduce. With a thought, Lu Ming came to the foot of the tree of enlightenment. The enlightenment ancient tree was planted on a plain. It was now 500 meters tall. This was entirely the credit of the five-colored soil. The 500-meter-tall enlightenment ancient tree pierced straight through the sky. The tree trunk was incomparably thick. Between the branches, there was great Tao lingering. Cultivating here, the speed of comprehending laws would be greatly enhanced. With the martial Tao ancient tree as the center, this plain was covered in lush green grass and clusters of fresh flowers, their fragrance assailing the nostrils. It was mainly because of the five-colored soil. The vegetation in this area was exceptionally strong. There were also many spiritual herbs and sacred herbs, their medicinal fragrance also assailing the nostrils. Lu Ming sat cross-legged under the enlightenment ancient tree and cultivated quietly. And regarding the matter of Lu Ming defeating Lan Mo, it was spreading out with the speed of a whirlwind. But those who heard this news were first stunned, then overjoyed, amazed, jealous, roaring, all kinds of expressions, all kinds of emotions. Lu Ming stirred up another wave in the vast land of the grand pure sky domain. 7 days passed in a twinkle. On this day, Heavenly Emperor Hong Yu came to Lu Ming's residence. Heavenly Emperor Hong Yu did not conceal his aura. The moment he arrived, Lu Ming sensed it. Lu Ming ended his cultivation and met with Heavenly Emperor Hong Yu. Senior Hong Yu, I wonder what you came to find Lu Ming for? Lu Ming said with a slight smile. Lu Ming, I heard that you defeated Lan Mo, so I came to take a look. Ha ha ha, really impressive, even I was taken aback. Chapter 23:38. Heavenly Emperor Hong Yu was overjoyed. Lu Ming came from the primordial realm, and he had a deep relationship with Lu Ming. Seeing Lu Ming's achievements made him happier than if he had made a breakthrough himself. Lu Ming, with your current strength, I'm afraid that training in Two World City won't do you any good. Heavenly Emperor Hong Yu said, I'm planning to cultivate for a while, and raise my cultivation to the peak of the true Emperor realm before heading to the Great Emperor battlefield. Lu Ming said, Great Emperor battlefield? I'm afraid it won't do you any good. Heavenly Emperor Hong Yu said, Won't do you any good? Lu Ming was stunned. Wasn't there a lot of great emperors from both sides fighting and training in the Great Emperor battlefield? Now, there's no one in the Great Emperor battlefield. The great emperors from both sides have gone to the Void Sacred Island. Heavenly Emperor Hong Yu said, Void Sacred Island? Lu Ming was puzzled. It was his first time hearing this name. That's right. The Void's Sacred Island is a mysterious place that was discovered a few years ago. It's located in the eternal void and contains countless treasures. Now, many great emperors have entered the Void's Sacred Island. Heavenly Emperor Hongyu explained. Even the foreign races can enter? Lu Ming asked. That's right. That Void God Island is located in the void and floats there for eternity. Both sides can reach it, and it contains countless treasures. Heavenly materials, primordial stones, primeval stones, fragments of great Tao, imprints of the heavenly Tao, and even weapons of heavenly Tao. Heavenly Emperor Hong Yu's eyes were burning with passion as he spoke. There are even heavenly Tao weapons. Lu Ming was shocked. Heavenly Tao weapons were heavenly emperor weapons that contained the heavenly Tao. Once a heavenly emperor controlled a heavenly emperor weapon and activated the heavenly Tao's power, the heavenly emperor's combat strength would increase greatly. However, heavenly emperor weapons were extremely rare. Heavenly emperor weapons weren't like great emperor weapons. Heavenly emperors could forge great emperor weapons, and even some powerful great emperors could forge them. However, heavenly emperors couldn't forge heavenly Tao weapons themselves. The heavenly emperor could only borrow the power of the heavenly Tao. It was impossible for him to forge a weapon that contained the heavenly Tao. A celestial emperor weapon could only be forged by a supreme expert who had surpassed the celestial emperor. In addition, there were also some celestial emperor weapons that contained the heavenly Tao that could be nurtured in nature, but they were extremely few in number. In fact, the majority of heavenly emperors still used great emperor weapons and did not have any heavenly emperor weapons. Once a heavenly emperor gained control of a heavenly emperor weapon, the heavenly emperor's battle prowess would skyrocket. Therefore, the price of a celestial emperor armament was astonishingly high. Lu Ming hadn't expected the Void's Sacred Island to contain a celestial emperor weapon. That's right, and there are definitely a lot of them. In the past few years, there have been people who have brought out celestial emperor weapons from there, causing a commotion. The fiery look in Heavenly Emperor Hong Yu's eyes became even more intense. He did not have a celestial emperor weapon either. For example, the Heavenly Monarch sword in Lu Ming's hand was not a Heavenly Monarch weapon. It was only a great monarch weapon and did not contain the heavenly Tao. Wouldn't even the celestial emperors be jealous of such a treasure land? What's the use of a great emperor going in? Lu Ming was puzzled. The Void's Sacred Island contains an astonishing pressure that can suppress the heavenly Tao. Heavenly emperors can't enter at all. Only those below the heavenly emperor level can enter. Therefore, a great emperor is the most suitable to enter. Heavenly Emperor Hongyu said. What? It can even suppress the heavenly Tao? This? Lu Ming's eyes widened in shock. What was the highest in this world? It was the heavenly Tao. The heavenly Tao controlled all things in the world. All things in the world existed and evolved under the operation of the heavenly Tao. Heavenly emperors were the pinnacle of martial arts, but they could only borrow the power of the heavenly Tao. Now, Lu Ming heard that there was a pressure that could suppress the heavenly Tao. Naturally, he was incomparably shocked. Could it be the ancestral dragon's realm? Lu Ming's heart stirred, and he thought of the ancestral dragon. Dandan had once said that the ancestral dragon's realm had surpassed the heavenly emperor realm. It had reached a completely different realm, a supreme realm. Many people speculate that the Void's Sacred Island was the dojo of a supreme figure in the distant past. It floated in the eternal void. Such a figure had already transcended the heavenly Tao, and even the heavenly Tao was suppressed by him. That's why there was such a terrifying pressure. This also explains why there are so many heavenly emperor weapons in the Void's Sacred Island. Such a figure could definitely refine a heavenly emperor weapon. Heavenly Emperor Hongyu explained. Lu Ming was deeply shocked. It was hard to imagine such a dojo. It wouldn't be surprising if there were any treasures in it. I came this time to ask you if you want to go to the Void's Sacred Island. However, the Void's Sacred Island is very dangerous. There are already some dangerous places on the island. In addition, there are great emperors of the foreign races and the great emperors of the heavenly world. If you don't want to go, you can cultivate in the two-world city. Heavenly Emperor Hongyu said. I'll go, I'll go. Lu Ming immediately nodded. His eyes were firm. Lu Ming would definitely not miss out on such a precious place. There were all kinds of heavenly treasures, chaos stones, primordial stones, great Tao fragments, etc. These would definitely be helpful to Lu Ming's cultivation. Moreover, tempering himself on the island and fighting for his life would be even greater for Lu Ming. If he wanted to catch up and even surpass Xian Yanqing, he definitely wouldn't be able to do it according to normal cultivation. He had to take risks. All right, I'll arrange it for you. However, there's one thing you have to remember. On the Void Sacred Island, there are times when danger comes from the people of the heavenly world. There are no restrictions when fighting for treasures on the Void Sacred Island. Heavenly Emperor Hongyu said. Lu Ming nodded. He had experienced so much and naturally understood this point. During this period, try to improve your strength as much as possible. I'll inform you when I'm done with the arrangements. Heavenly Emperor Hongyu said and left. On the other hand, Lu Ming returned to his residence and thought about the direction of his cultivation. Next, Lu Ming planned to raise his cultivation to the 7-star True Emperor realm. This was currently the fastest way to improve his combat strength. Once his cultivation reached the 7-star True Emperor realm, he could try to break through to the Great Emperor realm. However, Lu Ming didn't plan to break through to the Great Emperor realm so quickly. Once he broke through to the Great Emperor realm, his Tao would be fixed. It would be difficult to integrate more laws. Lu Ming had an ambition. He wanted to cultivate all 10 supreme laws to the 3rd level and then break through to the Great Emperor realm. Then, he didn't know what level his Tao would reach. This was something that ordinary people wouldn't dare to think about. However, Lu Ming could do it. After thinking for a while, Lu Ming took out a few world cores and began to refine them to increase his world energy. He had already refined all the chaos stones in his possession. Now, he could only refine the world cores and origin stones to increase his world energy. Naturally, the speed would be much slower. However, Lu Ming's cultivation was already at the limit of the 6-star True Emperor realm. He was only a step away from the 7-star True Emperor realm. It wouldn't be difficult for him to break through. Chapter 23:39. After that, Lu Ming continued to strengthen his foundation. A few days later, Heavenly Emperor Hongyu arrived. The arrangements had been made, and they could set off immediately. Not long after, Heavenly Emperor Hongyu brought Lu Ming with him as they tore through space and rushed towards a certain place. An hour later, Lu Ming and the others appeared above a boundless sea. This sea was an inland sea of the grand pure celestial domain. It was vast and boundless. At this time, there were already some people waiting here. Lu Ming glanced over. Other than Heavenly Emperor Hongyu, there were 3 other Heavenly Emperors. Apart from the 3 Heavenly Emperors, there were 5 other Great Emperors. Among the 5 Great Emperors, there were old men and middle-aged men. 2 of them caught Lu Ming's attention. The 2 of them looked exactly the same. It was obvious that they were twins. It was rare to see twins who had both reached the Great Emperor realm. It was obvious that these Great Emperors were also going to the Void Divine Island. Lu Ming's gaze swept over the sea again. In front of him, there was an area of space that was extremely unstable. It was constantly twisting and distorting. Occasionally, spatial cracks would appear. This was the spatial tunnel that led to the Void Divine Island. On the way here, Heavenly Emperor Hongyu had already told Lu Ming about the spatial tunnel in detail. In fact, Two World City wasn't the only way to come to the grand pure celestial domain from other heavens. There were also 2 spatial tunnels that led to another battlefield. There were also other hidden spatial tunnels that led to other heavens. Some even led to other worlds, such as the Fiend God realm. However, these tunnels were usually extremely small and unstable. Usually, only one person could pass through at a time. At most, 2 or 3 people could pass through at a time. Any more, and it wouldn't work. Moreover, these tunnels were extremely chaotic and dangerous. Even great emperors could get lost if they entered. Only heavenly emperors could pass through safely. Naturally, there were terrifying experts guarding these tunnels on the heavenly world side. Although the surroundings were empty apart from the few of them, Lu Ming was certain that there were definitely terrifying powerful figures guarding this area. Once powerful figures from foreign tribes crossed the passageway, they would be killed forcefully. Moreover, this kind of passage usually only allowed 1, 2, or 3 people to pass through. If the foreign races dared to come, they would be surrounded and killed by the experts of the heaven realm. As a matter of fact, there were several such passageways in the Grand Lucidity celestial realm, all of which were guarded by experts to prevent outsiders from barging in. Lu Ming. Everyone looked at Lu Ming in astonishment. He hadn't expected that Lu Ming would also want to enter the Void Divine Island. As people from the heaven realm, I hope that you can help each other when you enter the Void Sacred Island. A heavenly emperor spoke, looking at Lu Ming and the others. Of course, definitely. The martial monarchs nodded, including Lu Ming. It's about time. Let's go. Another great emperor said. Immediately, he waved his hand, and a wave of energy enveloped the twin brothers. At this moment, the space above the sea distorted, and a spatial crack appeared. The celestial emperor's figure moved, and he rushed into the spatial crack with the twins, disappearing from sight. This passageway only allowed 3 people to travel at a time. The others waited quietly. After a while, another heavenly emperor rushed into a spatial crack with 2 people. The third group was a heavenly emperor. He rushed into a spatial crack with a woman in palace attire. At the scene, only Heavenly Emperor Hong Yu and Lu Ming were left. They waited for a moment. Lu Ming, let's go. Heavenly Emperor Hong Yu waved his hand, and a wave of energy enveloped Lu Ming. He brought Lu Ming into a spatial crack in a flash. As soon as they rushed into the spatial crack, an endless spatial storm swept toward the 2 of them. Heavenly Emperor Hong Yu directly ignored it and rushed into the spatial storm. Soon, they passed through the spatial storm and came to a small void passageway. This void passageway was extremely small. At most, it could only allow 3 people to travel together. The surroundings were chaotic and dark, and there was a strong pressure pressing toward them. Heavenly Emperor Hong Yu brought Lu Ming, and their speed was astonishing. They moved forward at extreme speed, and the surrounding void constantly flew past. No idea how long had passed. There was suddenly no path ahead, turning into darkness. The void passageway was cut off. Heavenly Emperor Hong Yu brought Lu Ming and stopped. Closing his eyes, he sensed carefully. Suddenly, Heavenly Emperor Hong Yu brought Lu Ming and rushed toward the right, breaking through the darkness. After a while, they arrived above another void passageway. This was also something that only Heavenly Emperor realm powerhouses could sense and find the right path. If it were the average person, even a great emperor, they would probably get lost in the dark void too. If their luck was bad, they would never be able to get out, forever wandering in the dark void. Just like this, walking and stopping, a full few days passed. Suddenly, a resplendent radiance came from ahead. In the eternally withered dark void, there would actually be radiance coming. It made Lu Ming slightly surprised. At the same time, he knew that they were about to reach their destination. Sure enough, the next instant, they passed through the void passageway and arrived at a vacuum region. Yes, this region seemed to be forcefully carved open by someone in the dark void. This region did not have a trace of spatial storm. It was as if it was the sky outside. This region was shockingly large. In the center of this region, there was an island floating there. Looking from afar, there seemed to be a sun hanging in the sky above the island. The radiance came from that sun. The heavenly emperors who came in before, the twins, and the others, were all waiting here. When they saw Heavenly Emperor Hong Yu and Lu Ming coming over, they nodded and then flew toward the island. This region was extremely vast and shockingly large. Even with the Heavenly Emperor's speed, it took them a long time to fly there. When they got close to the island, they realized that it was also shockingly large. How was it an island? It was clearly a continent. This Void Divine Island is extremely vast. Someone estimated that it might be 1/10 the size of the Grand Pure Sky domain. Heavenly Emperor Hong Yu said. The others were shocked. It was a 1/10 the size of the Grand Pure Sky domain, and this was just a single person's training ground. However, when they were a certain distance away from the Void Divine Island, Heavenly Emperor Hong Yu and the others stopped. We can't go any further. We will be suppressed by that pressure. You guys go ahead yourselves. One of the heavenly emperors said, "With your cultivation, don't go too deep into the Void Divine Island. You can move around the periphery of the Void Divine Island. Many high-level emperors have already gone to the depths of the Void Divine Island." Another high-level, heavenly emperor said. Everyone nodded their heads and flew toward the Void Divine Island alone. "Senior, farewell." Lu Ming bid farewell to Heavenly Emperor Hongyu. "Lu Ming, be careful," Heavenly Emperor Hongyu said solemnly. Chapter 2340. The group of 6 flew towards the Void Sacred Island. The closer they got to the island, the more they felt the vastness of the island. It was about 1/10 the size of the Grand Clarity Heaven Realm and was simply too vast. Below it were endless mountain ranges, endless plains, and all kinds of rivers and lakes. When they got close to the edge of the Void Sacred Island, they suddenly felt a terrifying pressure pressing down on them. It was as if they were carrying an endless weight. Their bodies couldn't help but fall downwards at an extremely fast speed. Their faces changed as they channeled their world force with all their might to stabilize their bodies. Lu Ming used his world force, and at the same time, his muscles were constantly vibrating. Only then did he stabilize himself. Otherwise, he would have fallen straight down. What a terrifying pressure! The 6 of them didn't look too good. Although Heavenly Emperor Hongyu and the others had warned them that the pressure here was terrifying, they were still shocked when they actually felt it. Among the 6 of them, 5 were great emperors. Lu Ming also had the battle prowess of a great emperor. Even with their cultivation, they were almost unable to fly due to the pressure. One could imagine how terrifying it was. If a true emperor was here, they wouldn't be able to fly at all. They would fall straight to the ground and die from the pressure. This pressure, this aura. The more the 6 of them sensed, the more shocked they were. The pressure and aura seemed to be higher than the heavenly Tao. It transcended and ruled over everything. Even the heavenly Tao would be subdued by this aura. It was as if there was a supreme existence in the center of the island that was emitting an aura that suppressed the universe. However, someone had set foot on this island a few years ago. In the past few years, everyone speculated that this island was left behind countless years ago. The owner of the island had long left. The aura on the island should be the remnant aura left behind when the owner of the island preached and went into seclusion. Lu Ming and the others were even more shocked when they thought of this. However, the remnant aura was still so terrifying even after so many years. It was truly terrifying. Even heavenly emperors couldn't enter the island due to the pressure. After they stabilized themselves, they slowly descended towards the ground. Soon, they were only a few tens of thousands of meters above the ground. What's that? Suddenly, someone looked ahead. Over there, a dark cloud was flying towards them at an astonishing speed. Croak, croak, croak. Following that, a series of ear-piercing cries could be heard. "Not good, crows. All crows," someone exclaimed. "Let's go." Their expressions changed. They turned around and rushed downwards. Croak, croak, croak. That flock of crows blotted out the sky and covered the sun. It was unknown how many of them there were. Every single one of them exuded a terrifying aura. Among them, there were true emperors and void emperors, but there were too many of them, so they could only retreat. However, the speed of those crows was also very fast, and they were quickly approaching. Whoosh! Whoosh! At this moment, streaks of black light shot towards Lu Ming's group from below. These black streams of light were also crows. Their bodies were pitch black, and they were about the size of a head, as if they were made of black iron. "Why are we so unlucky? We met this kind of crow as soon as we came in," one of them shouted angrily. As far as they knew, there were some terrifying mutated beasts living on the Void Sacred Island, and these crows were one of them. They were very terrifying and came in flocks. Some people were unlucky and met these crows as soon as they landed. It was very dangerous, and many people had died in the mouths of these crows. However, the Void Sacred Island was so vast, and the chances of meeting these crows were not very high. They could only say that they were too unlucky. "Let's kill our way out," Lu Ming shouted, and a long spear was formed in his hand, shining with 9 different colors. Whoosh! 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 The long spear burst out, turning into streaks of spear light, and collided with the crows. The spear light was extremely sharp, and each spear light could pierce through a crow. The others also attacked. Among the 6 people, only one was a 1-star Great Emperor. Among the other 4, 3 were 2-star Great Emperors, and 1 was a 3-star Great Emperor. Their attacking power was much stronger than Lu Ming's. When the 6 of them attacked, a large number of crows were killed, and their corpses fell to the ground. However, there were too many crows, and they continued to attack from below. The flock of crows in the distance also rushed over, and there were too many of them. Lu Ming and the others were delayed, and they were instantly surrounded by the flock of crows. Let's work together and kill our way out. The 3-star Great Emperor was a middle-aged man, and his fighting power was shocking. He held a battle axe, and with a swing of his axe, an axe radiance that was tens of thousands of meters long slashed out, and a large number of crows were killed. Void Emperor and True Emperor crows could not stop him at all. With him as the leader and the others as support, they immediately tore a path out of the flock of crows and rushed out continuously. Caw. At this moment, an ear-piercing sound was heard, and a streak of fiery red light rushed towards the middle-aged man. The middle-aged man swung his axe, and when it collided with the streak of fiery red light, there was a loud explosion, and the streak of fiery red light was sent flying. It was a fiery red crow, and its feathers were bright red, as if it was burning. The crow was shockingly strong, and it did not die after being hit by the middle-aged man's axe. It was an emperor-level crow. Caw, caw. Ear-piercing sounds were heard continuously, and the crowd saw a streak of fiery red light flashing in the flock of crows. Those were fiery red crows, and all of them were Great Emperor crows, and there were more than a dozen of them. The 6 of them were shocked. There were more than a dozen Great Emperor crows, and their strength was too shocking. Go, quickly go, someone shouted, and they unleashed their full strength. At this moment, no one held back, and they used all of their strength and attacked continuously, trying to rush out. However, more than a dozen fiery red crows were already closing in on them. Caw, caw. Ear-piercing sounds were heard, and the crows flapped their wings, and they were as fast as lightning. Their claws were indestructible, and they pounced towards Lu Ming and the others. Get lost. Lu Ming shook his long spear and swept it out, and it collided with a fiery red crow. Buzz. The long spear vibrated continuously, and a terrifying force came along the long spear. Lu Ming's body trembled, and he took a few steps back. The long spear that was formed by the power of the world and the laws was almost shattered. What a powerful force! Lu Ming was shocked. That crow was only sent flying by Lu Ming, but it was not injured. Its eyes shone with a cold light, and it flapped its wings and pounced towards Lu Ming again. The other 5 were also in a tough battle. The weakest of these crows had the combat strength of a 1-star Great Emperor, and the strongest was no weaker than the middle-aged man. Chapter 23:41. More than 10 fiery red crows were surrounded by terrifying flames. The temperature was shockingly high. They were like more than 10 small suns, constantly charging toward Lu Ming and the group of 6. Their speed was shocking and their power was terrifying as well. Lu Ming's group tried their best to defend themselves, but they were still in danger. Caw, caw. At this moment, there were 2 fiery red crows attacking Lu Ming. Lu Ming exerted all his strength and did not hold back at all. The long spear in his hand pierced out continuously. Boom, boom. The claws of the 2 fiery red crows collided with Lu Ming's long spear. The long spear vibrated continuously while Lu Ming's body trembled violently as he retreated continuously. The 2 fiery red crows had the combat strength of a 1-star Great Emperor. Lu Ming could still deal with one, but there were 2 of them. Lu Ming was at a disadvantage, and his arms were numb from the impact. Fight! Lu Ming's eyes were filled with dazzling battle intent as he circulated the indestructible ancient scripture to fight against the 2 fiery red crows. With the indestructible ancient scripture's terrifying defensive power and recovery ability, Lu Ming could still defend himself. However, the others were in danger. Another 1-star Great Emperor Realm Old Man was careless and was scratched by one of the crows. A piece of flesh was torn off and a deep wound appeared on his body. Blood flowed out and his face turned pale. His aura was weak. The others were also in danger, and they could not even take care of themselves. "Charge out!" someone shouted. They tried their best to charge down to the ground and use the complicated terrain to get rid of the crows. However, there were too many crows. There were dozens of fiery red crows, all of which were Great Emperor Realm crows. The crows below the Great Emperor Realm formed a flock and attacked continuously. This was a huge problem for Lu Ming's group. Therefore, they could not charge out at all. Bang! Another person was hit by a fiery red crow's wing and was almost cut in half at the waist. It was extremely dangerous. Everyone, under such circumstances, let's just mind our own business. At this moment, the middle-aged man suddenly spoke. Everyone's expression changed. "What do you want?" An old man roared with an ugly expression. Boom! At that moment, the middle-aged man unleashed an all-out attack. The middle-aged man was a 3-star martial monarch. He was the strongest among them. At this moment, he had repelled a fiery red crow, which was equivalent to a 3-star great emperor, with a single move. Then, he seized the opportunity and rushed to the side. He wanted to escape alone. If he stayed behind with Lu Ming and the others, he would only be exhausted to death by so many crows. However, with his strength, if he escaped alone, a single 3-star Great Emperor Realm crow would not be able to stop him. Damn it! The others roared in anger. If the middle-aged man escaped, the 3-star Great Monarch Crow would attack them. They would be in great danger. They might all die here. Caw! Jie! The crows screeched as several fiery red crows surrounded and attacked the middle-aged man. However, the only one that could truly pose a threat to him was the 3-star Great Emperor Crow. Hence, the middle-aged man fought with his life on the line and sent a few crows flying. After paying the price of some injuries, he forced his way out. The middle-aged man turned into a ray of light and flew away quickly. The others' hearts started to turn cold. Without the middle-aged man, they would be finished. Lu Ming squinted his eyes. Was he going to use the Heavenly Emperor's physical body now? Over the years, Lu Ming had given the Heavenly Emperor's physical body most of the black crystals that he had obtained from the foreign tribes. Now, the Heavenly Emperor's physical body was filled with energy. If he used the Heavenly Emperor's physical body, he would have no problem killing those crows. However, Lu Ming had intended to keep the Heavenly Emperor's physical body and use it when he entered the Void Sacred Island. A large number of great emperors and foreign tribes had gathered on the Void Sacred Island. There were even many peak great emperors from the heaven boundary. In addition to the dangers of the Void Sacred Island, Lu Ming had intended to keep the Heavenly Emperor's physical body and use it when he was in danger. It would be a pity to use it before entering the Void Sacred Island. However, it seemed like he had no choice but to use it now. Just as Lu Ming was thinking about it, a sharp cry rang out in the distance. Jie! It was the same cry of the crows, but this cry had the power to pierce through gold and crack stone. It was as if it could tear the space apart. A flock of fiery red crows appeared in the distance. Yes, it was a flock. There were more than 20 of them, and all of them were fiery red crows. All of them were at the Great Emperor Realm. Some of them had terrifying auras that covered the sky and earth. Their auras were even stronger than the 3-star Great Emperor Crow. Above the 3-star Great Emperor was the high-level Great Emperor. Other than Lu Ming, everyone's face turned pale. They were already in a desperate situation. Now that a flock of even more terrifying crows had appeared, there was no chance of survival. The dozen or so crows that came from behind all rushed towards the middle-aged man. The middle-aged man's face was pale, without a trace of blood. He screamed and his body emitted a bright light. His speed increased as he tried to escape. He was burning his life potential, causing his strength to increase by a large margin. However, the crows were too terrifying. A few of them were extremely powerful. With a flap of their wings, they chased after the middle-aged man like red lightning. Soon, the crows caught up with the middle-aged man. Chi-Chi! A crow that was as big as a mountain swiped at the middle-aged man with its sharp claws. The middle-aged man roared and unleashed all his strength. He attacked with his strongest move to block the attack. However, His attack was torn apart by the crow's sharp claws. Half of his body was torn apart. The middle-aged man screamed and retreated. He let out a desperate roar. Following this, the other terrifying crows attacked, and the middle-aged man was powerless. Under the attacks of the crows, his body was torn apart and devoured by the crows. The middle-aged man wanted to escape alone, but he was the first to die. The others did not feel happy about the middle-aged man's death. At this moment, they only felt despair. "It's over," someone growled. Once the middle-aged man died, it would be their turn. "Lu Ming, what a pity." An old man looked at Lu Ming with pity. Lu Ming was so young and talented. His future was limitless. It was very likely that he would become an invincible expert in the heaven domain. However, he was going to die here. It was a pity. "Even if I die, I will kill a few of them." Another person roared, planning to fight with his life. Caw, caw. At this moment, the fiery red crow that had killed the middle-aged burly man fixed its eyes on Lu Ming and the rest. It flapped its wings and flew toward Lu Ming and the rest at high speed. Its blood-red eyes were filled with cold, murderous intent. "It seems that I can only use the heavenly emperor's body," Lu Ming whispered. Then, a small stone statue appeared in his hand. Chapter 23:42. The stone statue quickly grew to the size of a mountain. Lu Ming took a step forward and merged with the stone statue. Clang! The sound of sword whistling resounded through the sky. The stone sword emitted a dazzling sword chi as it slashed out. Puff! Puff! The two fiery red crows that were attacking Lu Ming were split into two by the stone sword. The two one-star Great Emperor crows were killed instantly. In the past 5 years, the Heavenly Emperor's body had absorbed a large amount of energy, but Lu Ming had not used it. Now, the energy stored in the Heavenly Emperor's body had reached 80%. The explosive power of 80% of the energy was already extremely terrifying. Lu Ming speculated that if the energy stored in the Heavenly Emperor's body reached 100%, it would be enough to fight against a peak Great Emperor. Therefore, 80% energy was enough to kill an ordinary 5-star Great Emperor. "Kill!" Lu Ming shouted as he controlled the Heavenly Emperor's body. Powerful energy burst out, and the Heavenly Emperor's sword seemed invincible. The sound of sword whistling was endless, and the piercing sword chi slashed through the void. A few more crows were killed. Even the 2-star Great Emperor crows were killed instantly. There was no suspense. This relieved the pressure on the others, and they were overjoyed. They did not expect Lu Ming to have such a treasure. Instantly, they revealed a hopeful look. Caw, caw. When the other crows saw Lu Ming killing a few fiery red crows, they immediately let out sharp cries and attacked Lu Ming and the others with all kinds of attacks. As for the 10 to 20 terrifying crows that came from behind, they were closing in on Lu Ming and the rest at high speed. They were a distance away from them. They flapped their wings and each feather was like a sharp sword, shooting toward them explosively. Lu Ming slashed out with his sword, and the sword light cut through the void, blocking all the feathers. "Charge out!" Lu Ming shouted as he took the lead and charged downwards. The others followed closely behind. The fiery red crows did not give up and chased after them. There were more than 30 fiery red crows coming from behind, including the ones in front. They attacked Lu Ming and the others with all kinds of attacks. Lu Ming could only turn around and block one attack after another. Kill! Then, Lu Ming charged into the flock of crows alone. Rather than wasting energy to block the attacks of the crows, it was better to kill all of them. Puff! Puff! Lu Ming brandished his battle sword. His sword chi was unstoppable. In the blink of an eye, the 5 fiery red crows were killed. Caw! The remaining crows screeched, as if they were furious. A few of the strongest crows rushed towards Lu Ming. Lu Ming slashed out with his sword, causing an intense explosion as he exchanged blows with a few of the strongest crows. Several crows were sent flying by Lu Ming. 3 4-star Great Emperors and 1 5-star Great Emperor. Lu Ming's heart stirred. After exchanging blows, Lu Ming roughly judged the combat strength of the crows. 3 4-star Great Emperors and 1 5-star Great Emperor. This was definitely a terrifying force. Caw, caw, caw. The crows retreated and charged towards Lu Ming again. Then I'll kill all of you. Lu Ming's eyes were cold. The rich energy in the heavenly emperor's body exploded as he charged towards the crows. Lu Ming completely ignored his defense and attacked with all his might. Boom, boom, boom. One attack after another landed on the Sky Emperor's body, but they only left shallow marks on his body. The Heavenly Emperor's body was left behind by a Heavenly Emperor after all. It was extremely sturdy. Even a peak Great Emperor would find it difficult to break it. 4-star Great Emperors and 5-star Great Emperors naturally could not break it. As for the other crows, they could not even leave a mark. Lu Ming ignored his defense and focused on killing. He swung his combat sword with all his might and chopped off one of the wings of a 4-star Great Emperor Realm Crow. On the other hand, a 2-star Great Emperor Realm Crow was sliced into two by the sword gleam and its feathers flew everywhere. The 4-star Great Emperor Crow let out a mournful cry. Blood splattered all over the void as it retreated frantically. How could Lu Ming let it go? He chased after it with all his might. The other crow's attacks landed on Lu Ming's body continuously. Boom, 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 boom. However, they could only slow down Lu Ming's speed slightly. Lu Ming forced his way through and slashed out with his sword, chopping off the crow's head. The soul in the head was also destroyed by Lu Ming. With a flash of light, Lu Ming kept the corpse of the crow into his small world. The entire body of a Great Emperor Crow was a treasure. It was extremely valuable and could not be wasted. After killing a 4-star Great Emperor, Lu Ming turned around and targeted the other crows. He started killing them rapidly. Those that were below 4-star Great Emperor could not even withstand a single strike from Lu Ming. They were killed by Lu Ming, and their corpses were kept in Lu Ming's small world. Caw. Not long after, another mournful cry was heard. Another 4-star Great Emperor Crow was killed by Lu Ming. At this point, Lu Ming had already killed more than a dozen fiery red crows. However, there were still 20 of them left. After Lu Ming killed so many of their comrades, the crows became even crazier. Those that were below Great Emperor level threw themselves at Lu Ming without any regard for their lives. Although these crows could not break through the defense of the Heavenly Emperor's physical body, they could deplete the energy of the Heavenly Emperor's physical body. This can't go on. I have to kill the strongest crows first. Lu Ming thought in his heart. The Heavenly Emperor's physical body had stored 80% of its energy. Although it was extremely robust, it was being depleted at an alarming rate as he continued to fight with the Great Emperors and the other crows. If this continued, the energy in the Heavenly Emperor's physical body would be depleted in no time. If the energy in the Heavenly Emperor's physical body was depleted and the 3-star Great Emperors, 4-star Great Emperors, and 5-star Great Emperors were still alive, they would be in danger. Therefore, before the energy in the Heavenly Emperor's physical body was depleted, they had to kill the strongest ones. At this moment, Lu Ming ignored the other crows and targeted the 3-star Great Emperors and above. Poof, poof, blood splattered and dyed the sky red. 2 3-star Great Emperor fiery red crows were killed by Lu Ming. In this way, there were only 2 3-star Great Emperor fiery red crows left. A 4-star Great Emperor and a 5-star Great Emperor. Lu Ming went all out to deal with these 2 crows. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Lu Ming waved his battle sword crazily and attacked the 2 crows. Terrifying rumbles continued to erupt and the sky was smashed into pieces. The scorching temperature was about to burn everything, including the space. After a dozen moves, the 4-star Great Emperor Crow was finally killed by Lu Ming. In an instant, there was only 1 5-star Great Emperor Crow left. Kill. Lu Ming ignored the other attacks and attacked the crow crazily. This crow was as big as a mountain and was extremely powerful. Its sharp claws and wings were indestructible and extremely terrifying. However, Lu Ming was able to restrain it and did not need to be afraid of its attacks. His battle sword constantly slashed at its vital points. Chapter 23:43. At this moment, the twin brothers and the other 2, a total of 4 people, had already rushed to the ground and fled frantically. "It's not good for us to leave Lu Ming alone," an old man said with a worried look. "What's not good about it? Lu Ming's puppet is shockingly powerful. In my opinion, it's even stronger than a 5-star great emperor. He can protect himself. If we stay, we will only be a hindrance to him." One of the twin brothers said, "That's right. Let's leave first so that Lu Ming can fight freely. If we stay, we won't be of much help." The other twin brother said. The old man sighed, knowing that the twin brothers' words were reasonable. Then, the few of them used the terrain below to quickly leave this place. In the sky, the battle between Lu Ming and the 5-star Great Emperor Realm Fiery Red Crow had reached its climax. Lu Ming ignored his defense and completely suppressed the crow. Both sides exchanged dozens of blows, and the crow was already drenched in blood. One of its wings was almost cut off by Lu Ming, leaving only a thread hanging on it. At the same time, its chest was stabbed by Lu Ming and blood flowed out. With only one wing left, the crow's speed was greatly reduced. It was no match for Lu Ming and could not even retreat. Bang! Lu Ming took the attack head-on. His body swayed slightly, and then he stabbed back with his sword. Puff! The sword pierced through the crow's chest. Caw! The crow wailed and struggled violently. Its whole body was covered in fiery red flames and surged towards Lu Ming. However, it was useless against the Heavenly Emperor's body. Die! Lu Ming shouted and energy burst out crazily. The Heavenly Emperor's sword vibrated continuously and sword chi whizzed out. Bang! Lu Ming slashed horizontally and eventually, the crow's body was split into 2 halves. Its soul was also annihilated by this blow. The 5-star Great Emperor Crow had fallen. Not good. The energy consumption is too great. At this moment, Lu Ming's expression changed. Killing so many fiery red crows had already consumed a frightening amount of energy. Fighting against this 5-star Great Monarch Realm Crow had consumed an even more frightening amount of energy. Now, Lu Ming felt that the energy in the Celestial Emperor's body was about to be exhausted. He no longer had the strength to continue killing the remaining crows. Lu Ming's body emitted a ray of light that enveloped the crow's corpse and stored it in his miniature world. Afterward, Lu Ming dashed toward the ground at lightning speed. The crows in front of him were killed one by one. Lu Ming successfully broke out of the encirclement. But at this time, the Celestial Emperor's body trembled and rapidly shrank. Lu Ming's body also flew out of the Celestial Emperor's body. The energy of the Heavenly Emperor's physical body was officially exhausted. Lu Ming put away the Celestial Emperor's body and fled frantically. When the crows saw Lu Ming keep the Celestial Emperor's body, they let out ear-piercing cries and chased after Lu Ming. Among them, there were more than a dozen Great Emperor Fiery Red Crows. Many of them were 2-star Great Emperor Crows. If Lu Ming was surrounded, it would be very dangerous. Lu Ming used the 6-feathered divine wings and flew towards the distance at extreme speed. The crows behind him chased after him at extreme speed. Both sides, one chasing and one fleeing, crossed a long distance. Those crows chased after Lu Ming tightly and did not let go. However, Lu Ming used the 6-feathered divine wings and his speed was very fast. Only those Great Emperor Crows could barely keep up with Lu Ming's speed. Not long after, an endless desert appeared in front of him. The ground was all golden fine sand. Moreover, there were waves of heat coming from far away. Lu Ming rushed into the desert area. The strange thing was that when Lu Ming dashed into the desert, the crows actually stopped. They hovered around for a while before leaving one after another. This made Lu Ming curious. These crows are not entering the desert. Is it because of the area they're in? Or is there a terrifying existence in the desert that scares them? Lu Ming didn't dare to be careless and used the divine breath art to completely conceal his aura. Then, Lu Ming went deeper into the desert. This desert was filled with golden fine sand that stretched as far as the eye could see. Moreover, the temperature was shockingly high. The temperature here didn't come from the sun in the sky, but from the ground. Scorching heat constantly emanated from the ground. It was unbearable. In addition to the pressure of the heaven and earth, a true emperor wouldn't be able to withstand it. However, it was fine for Lu Ming. Lu Ming walked for a while, and found that this desert was dead silent. There was no vegetation or life. Other than fine sand, there was only fine sand. Fortunately, there was always a sun hanging in the sky above the center of the void divine island. This sun would never change its position, so it could be used as a basis to determine direction. As long as one walked towards the sun, they would be walking towards the center of the island. Lu Ming had been walking in this desert for 3 days. There was no abnormality at all, and there was no danger either. A plant. Suddenly, Lu Ming's eyes lit up. He saw a plant in front of him. This was the first time Lu Ming saw a plant after walking in this desert for 3 days. Under such high temperatures, there were still plants. Lu Ming's interest was piqued, and he flew over. It was a purple plant, sparkling and translucent, with a medicinal fragrance that assailed his nostrils. It was without a doubt an imperial herb. However, Lu Ming was more interested in the root of the herb. There was a small pond there with some liquid that emitted a shocking amount of energy essence. Lu Ming's eyes lit up. He knew that this small pool of liquid had given birth to this stalk of emperor medicine. This liquid was very valuable. This liquid contains powerful life essence. Even in such a dangerous place, it can still nurture a sovereign medicine. It's extraordinary. I'm cultivating the art of the 7 gods, so I need this kind of spirit liquid. Otherwise, it'll be difficult to break through. Lu Ming thought. Now, there was not much energy left in the drop of ancestral dragon blood in his heart. If he wanted to make a breakthrough in his physical body and cultivate the 7 gods' mysterious art to the 5th level, the remaining ancestral dragon blood was not enough. He needed other energy. Of course, sacred herbs and imperial herbs could also help cultivate the physical body. However, at Lu Ming's current level, he needed an extremely high-grade imperial herb. Immediately, Lu Ming carefully dug out the imperial herb and planted it in his small world. Then, he took out a jade bottle and collected all the liquid in the pond. This liquid is enough for me to cultivate for a while. I'll find a place to refine this liquid and see if I can break through to the 5th level of the 7 gods' mysterious art. Various thoughts flashed through Lu Ming's mind. Now, he didn't plan to break through to the emperor realm so quickly. He wanted to comprehend all the other strongest laws before breaking through. Chapter 23:44. Once the 7 gods' mysterious art broke through to the 5th level, Lu Ming's physical strength alone would be comparable to the great emperor realm. Then, his combat strength would definitely skyrocket. Lu Ming moved his body and left the place. Tens of thousands of miles away, Lu Ming rushed into the desert and went 100 miles deep into the desert before entering the mountain-river diagram. After entering the mountain-river diagram, Lu Ming immediately took out the liquid that he had obtained before and began to refine it. The liquid contained a huge amount of life essence. Lu Ming activated the 7 gods' mysterious art to absorb the life essence and strengthen his physical body. Buzz! Lu Ming's muscles and bones vibrated violently. In an instant, they vibrated hundreds of millions of times. The vibrations produced a terrifying energy that absorbed the essence of the spiritual liquid and permeated it into his muscles, bones, organs, blood, and cells. It permeated into every small corner of his body and strengthened Lu Ming's physical strength. Half a month later, Lu Ming had completely refined and absorbed the spiritual liquid. However, the 7 gods' mysterious art did not break through. It was still in the late 4th level, but it had reached its limit. Unfortunately, it's still a little short. Lu Ming sighed. It was too difficult to cultivate the 7 gods' mysterious art to the 5th level. The Archean cultivation system, whether it was the Archean body cultivation system, the Archean martial arts, the Archean demon path, or the Archean demon path, was more difficult to cultivate than the system of laws. The resources consumed were also more. Otherwise, the Archean cultivation system would not have been defeated by the system of laws in the Archean era. If he wanted to break through to the 5th level of the 7 gods' mysterious art, he would need more resources. However, the spirit liquid was not wasted. Although Lu Ming did not break through, the strength of his physical body had increased by a notch. His strength had also increased by a notch. There are many natural treasures on the Void Sacred Island. I'm sure I can find enough resources to break through. Lu Ming's eyes flashed. He then exited the mountain-river diagram and continued to search the desert. But in the next few days, Lu Ming found nothing, nor did he meet anyone else. On this day, Lu Ming was hurrying along when the desert suddenly exploded. A terrifying axe light slashed towards Lu Ming. Lu Ming was startled. He quickly retreated while throwing out a punch. Boom! With a loud sound, Lu Ming slid along the desert for a distance before coming to a stop. A burly figure appeared in front of him. Evil God Tribe. This was a member of the Evil God race. His entire body was covered in purple scales, and he had a tall stature. He held a battle axe in his hand and stared coldly at Lu Ming. A true emperor actually dared to come here and stop my attack? Looks like you're a supreme genius from heaven. Haha, looks like I'm quite lucky. The Evil God Tribe member grinned, his eyes incomparably cold. 1-star Great Emperor. Lu Ming judged his opponent's realm based on his opponent's aura and the exchange of blows just now. The other party was only a 1-star Great Emperor, but as a noble of a foreign race, his combat strength couldn't be underestimated. However, Lu Ming wasn't afraid. Just now, he had hurriedly blocked and was repelled by the other party. He was far from using his full strength. 1-star Great Emperor, let's start with you. Lu Ming said coldly. What did you say? Start with me? The Evil God Tribe member grinned. A mere true emperor ant from Heaven World actually said that he wanted to start with him. What a joke. Bang! The Evil God Tribe member took a step forward. Sand and dust filled the sky as he rushed towards Lu Ming. The battle axe in his hand slashed towards Lu Ming. Lu Ming's body emitted 9 different colors of light. His physical strength and world power were also circulated to the extreme as he rushed towards the other party. Boom! The two of them exchanged a blow. The force spread out in all directions like water waves. The sand was swept up and surged in all directions like waves. A deep pit that was thousands of miles long and wide appeared below the two of them. Swoosh! A figure retreated continuously. This time, it wasn't Lu Ming but the Evil God Tribe member. The Evil God Tribe member's 3 eyes were wide open as he looked at Lu Ming in disbelief. He seemed to find it hard to believe that he would be repelled by a true emperor. Your strength is only SOSO. Kill! Lu Ming shouted and charged towards the other party. Bang! 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 The two of them turned into 2 streams of light and collided continuously. In the blink of an eye, they had exchanged dozens of blows. However, the Evil God Tribe member was completely at a disadvantage. He couldn't defeat Lu Ming. His body trembled and his arm was in pain. Before entering the Void Sacred Island, Lu Ming could already defeat Lan Membrane when he fought with him. At that time, Lu Ming's cultivation was only a 6-star True Emperor. Now, Lu Ming's cultivation had entered the 7-star True Emperor realm. Moreover, his physical strength was even stronger. Although this great emperor was stronger than Lan Membrane, he still wasn't a match for Lu Ming. He was completely suppressed by Lu Ming. Whoosh! Lu Ming's hand was like a divine sword as it pierced the great emperor's body. The great emperor's body was covered in purple scales. His defense was astonishing. However, Lu Ming's hand was covered in 9 types of laws. They intertwined to form a divine ability that was even more terrifying. In addition, Lu Ming's physical strength broke through the scales and left a hole in the great emperor's body. Blood flowed freely. Damn it! The great emperor roared and retreated frantically. His eyes were filled with fear as he turned to flee. He knew that he wasn't a match for Lu Ming. If he forced himself to fight, not only would he not be able to kill Lu Ming, but he would also be killed by Lu Ming. How can such a terrifying genius appear in the celestial world? He's only a true emperor, but his combat strength is stronger than mine. This is too terrifying. No, I must spread this news so that others can kill this brat. Otherwise, if he grows stronger, it'll be a disaster for my race. The alien Grand Emperor thought to himself. However, how could Lu Ming let him escape? He used his 6 feathered wings and chased after him. You may be stronger than me, but it's impossible for you to kill me. The great emperor roared. Lu Ming was stronger than him, but not to a ridiculous extent. As long as he wanted to escape, Lu Ming wouldn't be able to kill him. Is that so? Lu Ming's lips curled up as a bow appeared in his hand. It was the fallen star bow. Lu Ming pulled the fallen star bow with all his might. The bowstring of the fallen star bow bent. Even now, Lu Ming still couldn't pull the fallen star bow fully. He could only pull it halfway. The 9 types of laws and the power of the world were constantly injected into the fallen star bow. The fallen star bow emitted a resplendent light as a 9-colored arrow was formed. Wong. Lu Ming loosened his grip and the bowstring vibrated violently. A 9-colored arrow flew out and shot toward the foreign race Great Emperor. The Great Emperor roared and swung his axe at the 9-colored arrow. Dang! There was a deafening explosion as the Great Emperor's body trembled. He retreated rapidly, almost losing his grip on the axe in his hand. How is this possible? The Great Emperor was shocked by the power of the fallen star bow. Wong. Chapter 23:45. The arrow tore through the air, leaving a long trail behind it. It was dazzling with 9 colors, but its speed was unbelievably fast and its power was shocking. The alien emperor roared and shot out a destructive light from his third eye. At the same time, he swung his battle axe. Clang! The 9-colored arrow struck the alien emperor's battle axe for the second time. The axe shook violently and flew out of his hand. The alien emperor's body shook violently as he retreated continuously. His palm was torn and blood flowed out. One of his arms had completely lost feeling. Now that Lu Ming's cultivation had reached the 7-star true emperor and his 9 nomological laws had reached the 3rd realm, the power of pulling the bowstring was many times stronger than before. Ordinary 1-star great emperors would find it hard to block. Whoosh! Whoosh! Lu Ming drew his bow and shot 2 more arrows. The alien emperor roared in anger and used all his strength to block, but it was all in vain. It was just a dying struggle. Of the 2 arrows, one pierced through the outsider emperor's chest, nailing him to the ground. The second arrow pierced through the outsider emperor's forehead. This arrow directly killed the outsider emperor. A great emperor was killed by Lu Ming. This was the first time he did it without using the heaven emperor's body. Lu Ming sighed in his heart. Unknowingly, he had grown to the point where he could kill a great emperor. More than 10 years ago, when he was in the Yuan continent, great emperors were so high up in his eyes that he couldn't reach them. At that time, Lu Ming could only rely on the heaven emperor's body. He couldn't fight against a great emperor at all. With his true strength, a great emperor could kill him with one slap. But now, things were different. Unknowingly, his strength had grown to a shocking level. After the 9-colored arrow killed the alien emperor, it turned into energy and dissipated. Just as Lu Ming was about to fly over and put away the corpse of the alien race's great emperor, 2 beams of rainbow light flashed in the distance and flew toward him at high speed. It's them. Lu Ming's eyes moved. The 2 streaks of rainbow light were actually the twin brothers. They had obviously noticed Lu Ming from afar, so they flew very quickly and arrived at Lu Ming's side in an instant. The 2 of them looked at the foreign race great emperor with surprise in their eyes. Brother Lu Ming, you're really amazing. You killed a great emperor with your own strength. Respect, respect. One of them said, his eyes filled with amazement. I was just lucky. Lu Ming smiled faintly. He walked over and kept the corpse of the alien race great emperor. Brother Lu, did you kill all the crows that day? The one who spoke earlier asked. No, I rushed out. Lu Ming answered casually. Oh. The twin brothers glanced at each other and nodded. Brother Lu Ming, it seems that we are fated to meet. Why don't we move together? Sure. Lu Ming thought for a moment and nodded. He was not familiar with this place, and the 2 in front of him were not weak. Lu Ming could not use his heavenly emperor physical body now. If they were together, they would be able to help him if he was in danger. The 2 of you, do you know how big this desert is? Lu Ming asked. This desert is very big. We have been wandering around this desert for the past few days. This desert is dead silent, and there are no opportunities. We are just wasting our time here. As long as we keep going deeper into the void sacred island, we will definitely be able to walk out of this desert. One of the twins said. This person was the eldest of the twins. Lu Ming nodded. Indeed, There was nothing to be gained in this desert. He had wandered around for many days and had only obtained a great emperor herb and some spiritual liquid. The three of them discussed for a while and then headed towards the center of the void sacred island. Along the way, Lu Ming learned the names of the two brothers. One of them was called Wu Xiao, and the other was Wu Bo. Both of them were two-star great emperors. Along the way, they encountered a group of foreign races. There were only two of them, a two-star great emperor and a one-star great emperor. Naturally, they were surrounded by Lu Ming and the other two and killed in the end. Later on, they encountered a group of foreign races. There were 7 or 8 of them. Wu Xiao had suggested that Lu Ming take out his puppet to kill these foreign races. However, Lu Ming turned around and left. The puppet that Wu Xiao had mentioned was the Heavenly Emperor physical body. However, the Heavenly Emperor physical body had exhausted its energy and could not kill the foreign races. Lu Ming naturally turned around and left. Fortunately, they were fast enough and did not get surrounded by the foreign races. They successfully escaped. Just like that, they flew for half a month before they walked out of the desert. The main reason was that the pressure in this area was too strong. Their flying speed was thousands or tens of thousands of times slower than outside. That was why it took them so long to cross the desert. After passing through the desert, they came to a land that was scarlet red. The temperature of this land was shockingly high. From time to time, they could see magma flowing out from the ground. Shockingly high temperatures were constantly spreading out from the ground. Logically speaking, such an environment should be more deathly silent than the desert from before. There was even less vegetation. However, the reality was the opposite. Here, they could see vegetation from time to time. Various types of fiery red vegetation were rooted in the scorching land. Some of them were even rooted in the magma. That's flowing flame wood and firestone grass. Not long after coming to this land, Lu Ming found several types of emperor herbs. They were all very valuable and were taken away by the three of them. This land of flames was simply a land of treasures. The three of them looked around with blazing eyes. A few days later, the three of them each obtained more than 10 stalks of emperor herbs. On this day, the three of them suddenly stopped after crossing a large mountain. This was because a few figures appeared in a canyon in front of them. The three of them quickly hid and watched from afar. Evil God Tribe. That canyon was filled with evil God Tribe members. There was a total of 5 of them. There was a pitch-black cave in the canyon. The 5 evil God Tribe members were pacing back and forth outside the cave, emitting powerful auras from their bodies. 3 2-star Great Emperors and 2 1-star Great Emperors. Wu Bo muttered with a grave expression. Brother Lu Ming, these 5 evil God Tribe members have been pacing outside that cave. I reckon that there are treasures in that cave. We cannot miss out on such an opportunity. However, the other party has 3 2-star Great Emperors and 2 1-star Great Emperors. They are much stronger than us and are not people we can deal with. Brother Lu Ming, why don't you take out that puppet and kill these 5 evil God Tribe members? At that time, if there are really treasures, Brother Lu Ming can take the lion's share. Wu Xiao said, this plan won't work. Let's continue to observe. Lu Ming said. Wu Xiao and Wu Bo exchanged glances. A glint flashed across their eyes. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.